prepare to race onto the field. Everything is riding on this football game. So there's a special intensity, a special urgency. Here come the Volunteers. Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, guys? Dane Davis here. Shout out to Boogie Bentley, Dauber, and the Indie Kid over at Talkin VAWLS Network on YouTube. Vols fans, head over to their YouTube channel, Talkin VAWLS Network. Smash that like button and subscribe, baby. Go Big Orange.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Dauber.
And I am the Indy Ballin.
You've changed your name since just a few hours ago. Look, this isn't gonna be fun. But the reality is this game almost went exactly as expected. Emory Jones did exactly what we said he was going to do. There's some positives to take away. I guess there's some positives. We'll get into it. We'll discuss it all. Let's run down the live chat, see who is hanging out. Lonnie Allval Williams is here. What's up, Lonnie? Come on in, guys. Make sure you do smash that like button right out of the gate. It's going to be a long night. Duck Gunslinger says, we're not winning 6 this season. I'm expecting some people are not going to be happy. Some people maybe will try to put a positive spin on it. Indy Kid, what are your opening thoughts on this game tonight?
I just think Tennessee is a team right now who I feel this game should have been closer, but they are a team who absolutely cannot afford to make mistakes. They can't overcome them. They made too many again tonight. And Florida is a better team, but if you're going to hang with a better team like that, you just have to – you got to make your plays. And just too many mistakes tonight, drop passes, bad snaps, penalties, missed field goals. I mean, the difference between it being tied at the half is Florida hit a 47-yard field goal and Tennessee missed a 47-yard field goal. That was the difference between being tied at the half. I think this staff dialed up a good plan tonight. I feel the players did not execute. Yeah, there's some blame on the staff, but I think overall it's just a beaten, battered group of players who, when the big game arises, they have a hard time overcoming what they're used to. They're just a beaten, battered group of players. Maybe that's a little strong, but just too many times I feel like that this group cannot make the simple plays that they need to. And you can't do that against Florida and expect to hang with them.
Let me go ahead and say thank you to Joel Certain for becoming a member of the channel. We greatly appreciate it. You now have access to the custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. You can join the fan call-in shows. So welcome to the channel. We appreciate the support. Look, that's it. That's the reality of the situation. It's Tennessee cannot afford to make mistakes. They can't afford to make mistakes against a team like Pitt. They damn sure can't afford to make mistakes against a football team like Florida. That's it is what it is. That's where this football team is at. They don't have that. The talent gap is too wide. You can't go 4 of 12 on third down and let Florida go 9 of 14 on third down and feel like you have a chance. Again, penalties, 10 penalties for 85 yards. And, you know, one of the things going into that middle 8 minutes, right? Time management, the last 4 minutes of the first half and then the first 4 minutes of the second half, especially when Florida's getting the ball after the half. Tennessee almost shot themselves in the foot. Florida takes the lead 17-14. You got about 4 minutes left. You're thinking, all right, Tennessee has an opportunity here to go down the field, score, go into the locker room with some momentum. Instead, they come out, they go 3 and out, and then they have a kick catch interference, targeting, and unsportsmanlike conduct all on the punt. Gators start at the UT 40, and Tennessee goes out there. Alontae Taylor forces a fumble. Aaron Beasley recovers, and no damage is done. But that's the type of stuff that we're talking about here. Tennessee can't afford to do that and feel like they can come out and have a chance to beat Florida late in the game.
Definitely. I said Tuesday. They have to play clean football. And that was anything but clean football. I'm like the Indy kid. I think this coaching staff, they're dialing up game plans. They're dialing up situations and plays that are working. You got receivers running open, but they're dropping passes. Quarterbacks are overthrowing. You can't overcome self-inflicted mistakes in penalties, turnovers, which we didn't have turnovers tonight, but the drops, the penalties, this team cannot overcome it. They have to play clean football. You're playing behind the 8 ball with lack of depth, and the talent level, the talent disparity between teams like Tennessee and Florida. When you go to your second and third string guys, there is such a drop off. There is such a drop off when you've got guys backing up the starters coming in and taking snaps. And that's a big difference right now.
Tennessee didn't have any turnovers, but that drop by Callaway, that's a turnover. That's a turnover.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get it out of the way bright and early. Stop the Joe Milton stuff. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. Blaming Joe Milton for receivers dropping balls. Hendon Hooker dropped that in with perfect touch, nice light throw, and it gets dropped. We saw multiple guys dropping passes again, but yet we want to blame Joe Milton for throwing the football too hard. The passing game has to get better from the quarterback to the wide receivers across the board. Stop blaming Joe Milton for throwing the ball too hard. We saw tonight, guys are still dropping balls. You can't do that. And that's why, going back to what Indy Kid said at the start of the show, I feel like this coaching staff, I don't like to put blame on players. I don't like to put guys on blast. I don't like to do that type of thing. Boys, we got a coaching staff. Yeah. We got a coaching staff that can scheme it up on offense and defense. We need more horses, and this team can compete. But I don't know that this coaching staff will ever get that opportunity.
Here's the thing. What was the thing that I said all last year when we had guys standing on the sideline that could be making impact and they weren't? Playmakers make plays. And right now, fellas, we don't have the playmakers to make those plays. We're the talent level just isn't even or even close to being even with those top tier teams. There's such a drop off.
Let me get caught up on these super chats. Power T for $2 said bad clock management before the half. I would agree with that. I wish they would have got one more play in. I don't know that it was terrible, but I feel like you had 2 timeouts, limited time. You probably could have used a timeout to buy yourself a little bit more time. It is what it is. Robbie S for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says game was good and bad in places, but we did win over the turnover battle and a few other pluses that we haven't seen in a few years. Yeah, going into this game, I said that Tennessee, they didn't just need to win the turnover battle. They needed to win it by 2 or 3. They needed a huge advantage in that turnover
and capitalize
battle.
Off of it. Did they get any points off that turnover?
No. Well, they saved some points though. That was a big play by the defense right before the half. Power T for another 5. This was offensive loss solely on the. What is that supposed to say?
Probably autocorrect. So probably offense.
Too many missed executions, mediocre quarterback play, but think Hooker played his best game this year. I think when you look at quarterback play, and we're going to get into it as we go through this thing, but Hendon Hooker is more consistent. He does more with his feet. Joe Milton opens up the offense. It is what it is. And, I don't know that it matters when he can't connect on the deep ball. The limited time he got tonight, he was all over the place again. I honestly don't know who gives you a better opportunity to win. Calvin Corum, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. We appreciate that. You can now use those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Joel Certain for a $20 super chat. That is not cheap. Says we just need more depth and some talent on both lines. We were killed in the portal this year. This staff has us going in the right direction. Go Big Orange. Indy Kid, you kind of opened the show talking about coaching. I like where this coaching staff is at. But if they can't win the big games, we talked about keeping this thing close, 38-14. Once again, missed the spread. Will this coaching staff be around long enough to have an opportunity?
It's too early to answer that. I mean, if we're 3 years in and still asking this question, no, they're not going to be. But I feel like this is a snake-bitten group of players. They just can't make the plays when it needs to be made or when they need to be made. I thought it was a good game plan. I thought they did a lot of good things, but so many things, man. Just like the first drive, they had Florida pinned back. Jeremy Banks, 15-yard face mask penalty, moves Florida down the field. I can't remember every single mistake, but I know Jacob Warren wide open on the sideline. Hendon Hooker overthrows it into the sideline. Callaway drop. Oh my gosh. 47-yard field goal. That's not a gimme for some reason, man. Nobody ever misses a field goal against Tennessee yet. Those long field goals, Tennessee never make them. It feels like. Bad snaps. Cooper Mays had numerous bad snaps. And they were on third down. They weren't on first down. They were on third down.
A couple times, guys wide open too when he had those bad snaps.
Especially the first time, guy took off across the middle wide open, and could have gotten I don't know if he would have scored, but he would have had a lot of yardage on it. Can't ask now. I mean, with that said, I think there are discipline issues. The one group that I still think sucks is the secondary. They were awful tonight. They made Alontae Taylor made the one play, but it was after a long game. Credit to him for making the play. That's secondary, man. They're a veteran group, and I hate to say it, they suck. I would love to see some of these younger guys push these older guys and knock them out, because these older guys, man, they can't get the job done.
Well,
let me get caught up on these super chats, and then we'll come back to that. Donovan Milliken for $20. Another that ain't cheap. I'm over penalties, man. I love watching Tylen Evans play. Tylen Evans is a baller, man. He is an absolute baller. Drew Truesdale for $35. That's a big time super chat. Says it's not X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. The new additional 7 recruits is going to be big, getting us back. Here's my life savings. Drew, I would have loved nothing more than to send you a free T-shirt. I would much rather send you a free T-shirt than take this $35 super chat, man. And I was really hoping when things got rolling there in the first half that was going to be the case. But we appreciate the super chat, Drew. Pecan for 2. Good note. Evans looked good. Hooker did well at the quarterback position. Bear with me here.
Based on the time he had, he did all right. The offensive line is
lack of depth.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but everybody for the most part were healthy tonight. But Mays did.
Mays was struggling.
He struggled.
Yeah, I want to come back to Mays too. Dylan Robertson for 10. Thank you for the super chat. So I'm going to put this out there. If in certain situations, Coach Hype needs to put different stuff in his playbook to try and get the time of possession better, because that's going to hurt him in Knoxville. Maybe, but look, that's Josh Heupel's offense. Josh Heupel is going to do what Josh Heupel does. He ain't going to slow down. He's going to go fast. That's his offense. So if it works, if it doesn't work, that's what he's going to die on that hill. Undying Voice for 5 says, what's our graduate assistant situation look like? I have no idea. What we're going to start a graduate assistant at quarterback? Is that what he's talking about?
I think that's a shot at South Carolina.
Maybe. Joel Certain for $50. $50. Big time super chat. Thank you, Joel. We appreciate it. It says, I was just barely old enough to remember the good old days back in 98 when this rivalry was back and forth. Coach Josh Heupel and staff will get us competitive. Love the show, guys, and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Joel. That is a big time, generous super chat. We appreciate it. Sammy P for 10. We don't have the talent this year. I hope the staff will have a chance to right the ship and continue in the right direction. Upside, a deep ball was completed. Yeah. And running backs looked good tonight. Calvin Corum
game looked a lot better. Yeah, agreed.
Calvin Corum for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Receivers are the weak link. They shine at times and they struggle at times. Dakota Dyer, new member of the channel. Thank you for joining. We appreciate it. You can drop those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis in the chat. All right, we are caught up. Let's go back and talk about this offensive line because I do feel like the run game kind of improved. Not a whole lot of carries. Jabari Small, 11 carries for 60 yards, average 5.5. Tyon Evans, 11 for 50, average 4.5. But again, Cooper Mays back in the lineup at center. Felt like the offense was kind of running a little bit better under him. Obviously, he gets banged. That kid was beat all to hell. Yeah. Cooper Mays was beat to hell. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter, saying that you got to get him out of the game, take him out of the game. And I get it. I get it. You don't want him to get too beat up. But on the flip side of that, man, I admire that. We need 22 guys like Cooper Mays that are willing to lay it all on the line. The kid could hardly walk, but you couldn't get him out of the game. That's heart. That's determination. Tennessee needs 22 guys like that out there competing week in and week out. I admire Cooper Mays for what he did tonight.
There was a stretch when we were running the ball up the middle before he got banged up and could hardly walk, where we were, chipping off, 6, 7, 8, 10-yard runs up the middle. And then he got banged up and we could not run the ball up the middle anymore. We tried to stretch it outside and use the edge and some speed, which worked a little bit, but man, it's just to run through the gauntlet of the SEC schedule with a paper-thin offensive line, and you're going to have guys banged up all season long, so you've got to have guys that can come in and slide over, play multiple spots, and right now it's just that's a stretch. We're talking about a former walk-on being our, either next guy in or second to next guy in. I hope that this offseason we're able to hit and reap some benefits of the transfer portal, because we got totally burned by the transfer portal this year. We lost a lot of guys that had experience that could have helped this season.
Eddie Kid, how crucial is Cooper Mays to this offense?
Pretty big. I was pulling up the stats. Jabari Small, 11 for 59, 5.4 per carry. Tyon Evans, 11 for 50, 4.5 per carry. That's the main two I'm focusing on, not Hooker, nor Hyatt, nor Milton. Between the two, that's 22 carries for 109 yards. That's almost 5 yards per carry. That's I think it makes a big difference. Cooper wasn't perfect, but yeah, like Dauber said, you saw them getting that push up the middle. You saw them getting those yards.
But when you don't have the depth, when you don't have the depth to spell those guys, and when there's such a drop off that your backups come in, and then you can't run the ball anymore. That's a difference right there.
Look at Tennessee Tech. At Tennessee Tech. They couldn't run the ball against Tennessee Tech without Cooper in the game. Sorry, Andy Kid.
No worries. They had a hard enough time with pass protection, even with Cooper, but the run game was much, much better with Cooper Mays in than it has been without him. They need him healthy. I'm with you, Boogie. I mean, I know people were saying to pull him. If he's still wanting to go, he's better than the alternative. And Carvin is going to do fine at center. The problem is the weak link comes in at left guard.
Right.
Then. So I had no problem with him. I mean, there was a part of me saying get him out, but then, like you said, a hobbled Cooper Mays is better than the backup.
Yeah.
That's the difference. There's just no depth on that line. And what they end up with total? 148 yards on 37 carries. That's 4 yards a carry. That's pretty respectable.
Especially
honestly.
against that Florida team that held Alabama, to 90-some rushing yards, I think it
90,
was?
93, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee did some good things tonight. It just, when it boiled down to it, number one, Florida was a better team. Florida has more depth. They were able to outlast them. But number two is you can't make the mistakes that Tennessee makes in big games like they did against Pitt. I'm not as disappointed tonight. I don't think even at their – I still question without the mistakes had Tennessee won tonight. But, I had absolutely every right to be upset in the Pitt game. Not to go back to that. We're talking about Florida, but people chastised me for being upset over that game. Tennessee should have never lost to Pitt. You're not going to change my mind. But, they're not at a point they're going to be able to compete with Florida, Georgia, or Alabama making the mistakes they won tonight. Curious to see how they do against the next couple of weeks, though.
Yeah.
They have a real shot to win the next couple of weeks.
Undying Voice for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says Cooper Mays is the guy you want to recruit. Florida got the better of us, but I think we still have our goal ahead of us. Missouri and Kentucky not invincible. Yep. There are some winnable games on the schedule moving forward. Dakota Dyer for 5 just says, here's a tip in the tip jar. Thank you, Dakota. We appreciate that. Let me go get this gigantic super chat. What? Thank you, Evan. We appreciate it. $100. He lays down the gauntlet as the super fan of tonight's show. Thank you, Evan, for a generous super chat. We appreciate it. Injuries every half quarter, ridiculous penalties, horrible clock management. I guess we'd be doing okay if we had rollover timeouts, overthrows. Most apologies for being negative. Not sure about y'all, but I'm highly upset with this performance. I'm not upset, Evan. It's frustrating. It is frustrating to see, you look at that first half, right? And Tennessee is competing. The score 17-14 at the half. Again, Florida had a chance there late in the second quarter to really start to pull away. Tennessee forces the turnover. You can see the coaching, man. I'm telling you can see it on both sides of the ball. And I know that's hard to sit here after the fact when Florida scores 38 points. I like Tim Banks. I think Tim Banks is scheming up some stuff on defense. Obviously, Rodney Garner is getting more from less out of that defensive line. Heupel is scheming it up on offense. I feel like we truly have some coaches. They just need some horses. But my concern is that they're not going to be able to recruit because they're going to get run out of town before they have an opportunity to flip this roster. That's just that's the way I feel.
I mean, I definitely see your point, but I'm not as frustrated with this game as I was the Pitt game.
Sure.
But it is, here's the thing. It is frustrating to see the points left on the field because the mistakes, the penalties, all of these things that and I want to be careful how I say this because, yes, penalties and mistakes and all that can reflect an undisciplined team, which reflects on the coaching staff. But I don't know. That's too hard to call right now. I don't know that you can solely lay that on the coaching staff and this team being undisciplined in that sense. I think that the lack of depth right now is leading to some of these mistakes and some of these things that are leading to the score tonight should have been a lot closer. And It's the way that we lost because of the penalties, because of the drops. You know, you're talking about execution, and that's the players on the field. So that's what's frustrating about it is, you know, we get this glimmer of hope for a half. You know, we're hanging, we've got the lead for a lot of the first half, playing good, answering back, you know, trading haymakers with the number 11 team in the country. And then, you know, we just that third quarter we self-implode and have all these mistakes, and then, you know, it just starts running away from us. And that's like I said Tuesday. This team has to play clean football. And, you know, it cannot afford and cannot overcome the stuff that they did tonight. So you go back and you go practice harder, and, you know, you hope you catch a team, you know, in a bad spot and a little bit of luck on your side, and you pick up one that you might not should. And, you know, there are a couple games that, you know, we talked about it before the season, and even the last couple of weeks, that are toss-up games. So now, especially losing the Pitt game, you've got to go out and you've got to win those toss-up games.
You know, it's the difference in the Pitt game. It cost them the football game. The mistakes,
Absolutely.
The penalties, it cost them the game. In this game, it cost them an opportunity in the fourth quarter. That's what we wanted, right? Have an opportunity in the fourth quarter to go win the football game. It was the difference in the Pitt game, and it was the difference of having a chance in this game. You know, you clean up the mistakes, the penalties. Tennessee's not winning this game. They have an opportunity to win this game. Let me say this. We got 500 people watching live right now. Do us a favor, hit that thumbs up just below the video. It takes 2 seconds. It helps the channel. Whether you agree with us, disagree with us, it plays the analytics of YouTube, drives the show out to more people. Got 172 thumbs up. Let's get that to 250. I said half of you. Half of you just hit that thumbs up. If we could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Steve Truitt for $10. Thank you for the super chat. Says this coaching staff has done its job with what they have to work with. They gave us opportunities to win or be more competitive. If you expected any other results, you are fooling yourself this year. I agree with that, Steve. I just want to see them continue to get better week in and week out. Preston Frills for $20. That's a big time super chat. One thing that I think is being lost is that this was the first time any of the freshman or sophomore players played a road game in the SEC. Also, I don't think you can say that Harrison can't throw the ball better than Milton or Hooker. I thought we were past it. I thought we were going to make it through a full show without talking about Harrison Bailey.
Address it. No, I'm not talking about him.
Let me see here. Where are we? Sorry, let me get caught up on these super chats, then we'll move forward. Dakota Dyer throws $1 in the tip jar. Thank you, Dakota. We appreciate that. And let's see here. Joel Certain for another $10 super chat. Thank you, Joel. Says main thing is that we are seeing week over week improvement. Penalties are killing us because the players are young. Just remember, it's only year one. Jake Dorak. Jake, look at you, Jake. You dropped $5 in the tip jar and didn't say a word about Harrison Bailey. I'm proud of you, Jake. Proud of you, buddy. I appreciate that super chat. Dustin Sellers for $5. Thank you, Dustin. Says perfect example of what we've done for a while. Start out competitive, then turn around and make killer mistakes outweigh our chances to win. Yeah, it's a tale of two halves. That's what today was a tale of two halves. Jeremy Webb for $2. Thank you for the super chat. Says thoughts on punt returner last SEC fair catch. What's he talking about?
What was up with the time they had 9 on the field? That's one place I would say you need to know your personnel if you've got 2 number ones that are punt returners. You might want to switch that up a little bit. That was a big time brain fart, but at the same time, I like that those guys were aware enough to see that another one was on the field and get off the field, because, you know, the broadcasters were mocking Tennessee, saying, "Oh, they're out there with 9 players." They avoided the penalty. So even though they got the ball on the 11-yard line, they avoided the penalty. So that's awareness to me. That blame the coaches for having 2 guys with the number 1 on their jersey.
kudos to the players for having the awareness to realize that. D. Copeman for 5, thank you for the super chat. Doesn't Heupel have a clause that he can't be fired for 6 years? Well, no, he has his contract 6 years, and then he has an extension. If they get a bowl ban, he gets an extra year, I think it is.
Yeah, there's some kind of something regarding the NCAA, and if they're put on a probation or a bowl ban.
John Hill for $20. That is a big time. John Hill walked up, slapped a 20 on the table, and said, "I'm out. I don't even have anything to say." Thank you, John, for that big time super chat. We appreciate that tip. And let me get one more, and then we're caught up. No, 2 more. Sorry. Evan Counts for 10. Just a case of battered Vols syndrome, guys. Love this coaching staff. Hate bringing negativity to the channel. Sorry, y'all. We got to stick together. We're due for a big win soon. It's coming. I hope you're right, Evan. Jonathan Rice for $20. Big time super chat. Tennessee better win versus Missouri and South Carolina. If not, will be a 4-win season at most, and every Vol fan and recruits will completely lose faith. Why can't we as quick as Arkansas in changing? They proved good coaching is the difference. Indy Kid, we kind of talked about that a little bit on the pregame show. Talked about Arkansas's development and how fast they've turned it around. Does that put more pressure on Josh Heupel? Dauber, what do you think about that? The way that Pittman has turned around that Arkansas program, do you think that puts a guy like Josh Heupel not on the hot seat, but a little bit more pressure?
I mean, it turns up the heat a little bit because people see that it can be done in a relatively quick turnover. But on the other hand, you've got to look at the situation. You've got to look at the depletion of this team by the transfer portal. You've got to look at the cloud that is looming over the university and this football program with the NCAA. That's something that kids take into consideration. Well, they may get banned from a bowl game, so I don't know if I want to go there. So there's no assurances for a kid committing to Tennessee right now when that's not resolved. So it's, I mean, kudos to Pittman for the turnaround because they went like 3 years without a conference win, and then they were like 3-8, and then he's got them rocking and rolling now. But he's definitely, set up the kind of model for what you want to do in turning around, coming in and, changing the culture and the mentality of a program. But let's face it, we've been in the downturn for 20 years. So multiple coaching staffs. This team needs an identity, and it's going to take patience. We can't turn on Pruitt, or we can't turn on Heupel like we turned on Pruitt before he even has a chance.
Indy, do you think Josh Heupel's going to be able to recruit under the current circumstances? How do you get better and progress if you can't recruit?
I have a lot of questions on his recruiting right now. But maybe it's a case of the circumstances run the program.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I think it's unfair to judge him right now. I have questions about it, but why is this dragging on? This should be settled. And if I'm Tennessee, I don't self-report another thing. I take what the NCAA does. I don't know if they have much of a leg to stand on at this point, but I think there's a lot that's unfair to judge him on right now until these sanctions or potential sanctions are done. I don't really think we can judge him. I mean, I've seen it where it says recruits are concerned what's going to happen out of this. I think that's part of the blame. And right now, frankly, my main concern with Tennessee, I would go all in to get Walter Nolan. There's maybe a couple other prospects I would go all in on.
Transfer
And then
portal.
I would focus on transfer portal.
Transfer portal.
Absolutely.
Especially with
Absolutely.
you can get the 7 guys in the transfer portal and not impact your incoming numbers. That's huge for Tennessee. Huge.
Absolutely. I would go all in on Nolan. I know there's some other guys that they're high on. I would go all in on a handful of guys. Keep what you got in the fold because obviously they like who they have in the fold. And then I would go all out on transfer portal. That's what's going to be the quickest way to turn around this program. And you're going to need it at multiple levels of this team.
Power T for a $5 super chat. Thank you for the super chat to say hashtag overthrow Joe LOL. He's laughing at his own jokes, which is cool. Wes Smith for 5. Thank you for the tip in the old tip jar. TK for 10 says I continue to see signs of good coaching and effort. He meant last second signal for fair catch. I wish they had taken another shot at scoring before the field goal attempt. I wish they would have used that. They had 2 timeouts. I wish they had used that timeout knowing that you really didn't have enough time to use both of them other than to buy yourself a little bit more time and then use one before the field goal. So I agree that's some mismanagement there. I don't know. Ryan Barton for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says Danny White will do what he can to give Heupel time. I like that those guys have a relationship. That's something Josh Heupel said this week, that when he needs to have a conversation with Danny White, it's real easy to go into his office because they have that established relationship. D. Copeman for 5. Thanks, guys. Also, Kentucky, Carolina, and Mizzou are all very winnable games. Just got to play clean. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Country Black for $20. Big time super chat. We could have Nick Saban as coach and still not win without the talent. We just need more time. I don't disagree with that. Look at the number of scholarship players on this football team. I mean, that should open your eyes a little bit. Jonathan Rice for 2. Nolan isn't going to happen unless we win. He is a must. I don't know what's going to happen.
Contradicting statement.
I don't know what's going to happen with Walter Nolan because he's one of those guys that, man, it's like every other day. You know, how many times has he narrowed down his list to 3 and then changes it, and then it depends on where he goes to visit, changes his mind again. Joel Certain for 10.
I mean, but where was Tennessee when the staff took over? They weren't even in the game.
Yep.
Now they're top. Now they have been the consistent in the top 3. I think they've got as good a shot as anybody.
And I know these are 18-year-old kids, but if you look at what Rodney Garner's done with that defensive line, where he's brought them in just a matter of months, Rodney Garner is the best thing that could ever happen to Walter Nolan. Period. End of story. Joel Certain for 10. Thank you for the super chat. You guys clamoring for Bailey must not understand that Bailey would get clobbered behind this O-line. We need a quarterback with wheels this year because of lack of line talent.
That's a very good point. And I've heard people talk about comparisons to Josh Dobbs with Hooker. Milton extends plays. Josh Dobbs was one of those that played behind a Swiss cheese offensive line who was always scrambling and running for his life, who his athletic ability saved Butch Jones a couple seasons. That's the same thing. This offensive line is talented, but it's not deep. And you've got guys playing banged up, and there's a drop-off in talent when the next guy in comes. And Harrison Bailey just does not fit the system.
Harrison Bailey's not going to be on the field. No. You might as well stop talking about him. Like Indy Kid said, we're past addressing Harrison Bailey. He's the third-string quarterback. He ain't getting in the game unless Milton – and look today. Look today. They said Milton wasn't going to start because he was hurt. Who comes in the game when Hooker goes out? Joe Milton.
Just give it time. I mean, he'll either leave or he'll develop. One of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else to say about him.
Evan counts for 5. What was the deal with Jones running off the field for the Florida punt? I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. You had 2 guys on the field, both wearing number 1. Preston Frills for 5. If we can somehow get Walter Nolan, then I think that will change other recruits' minds possibly about Tennessee and the coaching staff. I mean, I agree. You get the number 1 player in the country. That's going to create some momentum. Dylan Robertson for 20. I will say it was funny listening to the Gator fans complain about how far Coach Hype spreads the field out. I saw some people talking on VolQuest after that first half. The ongoing narrative for Florida fans was that they were being out coached. Dakota Dyer for 5. We've had talent, but not football smart players. We play so dumb. Hype will bring in some kids who can think on the fly if given time. I hope. I think we're all hoping. All right, we're caught up on Super Chats there. Go ahead, Dauber.
That's the thing. I think we've got to get a full roster of scholarship players that fit this system. I think that's the key. Right now, you've got guys that don't necessarily fit. You've got quarterbacks that will work in the system, but I don't know that it's necessarily that would be Heupel's first choice. You've got an offensive line that lacks depth. Here's something that we've not talked about tonight. Something that this team has done well the first couple of games is stop the run. Tonight, we did not stop the run at all.
But really, when you look at it, it's everything we said going into the game. They did stop the run. They couldn't stop Emory Jones. That was the biggest key going into the game, keeping Emory Jones in the pocket, getting him to the ground. They couldn't do that. 145 yards on the ground from the quarterback alone.
Yeah, they got gashed.
Yeah, he had a big night on Tennessee. I was looking here. Pierce 8 for 62, Davis 10 for 45, and Wright 7 for 32. Jones 15 for 144. But I was texting some buddies of mine. When has Tennessee been able to stop a mobile quarterback?
Never,
ever. This goes back to the glory days of the 90s. That 1 or 2 mobile quarterbacks you may see per year has always killed Tennessee. They a lot of frustrating things tonight. Some encouraging things, but we'll I don't think this was the measuring stick tonight. Yeah, I thought this team would be in it going into the fourth quarter. I really don't think they were when that fourth quarter started. I thought they were in it going into the second half, but as far as fourth quarter, that game was over.
The mistakes of the third quarter kept them out.
It did. Yeah, it really did, because starting the second half, they were in that game. And I think if they would have hit that field goal prior to half, that would have been a big booster for them. But, there's a stretch of games coming up that are very winnable the next 2 weeks. That's where we need to judge this team. If they can't beat Missouri and or South Carolina, I would actually lean towards saying and versus or. We may have some issues. I think Tennessee's a better team than Missouri and South Carolina.
I still think you've got to play clean football.
You do.
You can't do the stuff they've done against Pitt and tonight against Florida.
Yeah, it's like the Pitt game. These mistakes against a team like Missouri and Kentucky will cost you the game.
Yeah.
It's like I said earlier, tonight it was more about having an opportunity late in the game to go win. But, Tennessee was very much in the game at halftime, Indy Kid. Like you said, McGrath misses the field goal, had a chance to tie it there right before the half. Florida comes out in the second half, and they go right down the field. I mean, it was a matter, I think it was 3 plays, and they're inside the 30, and then they run the double pass, go down and score. And I feel like it was a backbreaker. Tennessee down 24-14. They put together a good little drive trying to answer. You're thinking, if they can score here and they cut it to 24-21, maybe we get into that fourth quarter and it's a fight and they have a chance. But they put together that long drive. I've got the numbers up here. It looks like 8 or 9 plays. And then that's when you had the 4th and 5 and the cross to Callaway. And it just hits him right. That was
a turning point.
That was a dagger.
Yeah,
that was a dagger.
Chuck Hickey asked there, I don't know the amount of plays they run, but there was a big difference tonight when they were just going blazing speed versus when they slowed it down, because you made mention that Florida fans were saying they were getting out coached. That's when Tennessee was going fast. They were causing some real problems for Florida when they were just, play happens, the ball gets put down, and they're snapping it. Florida was having a real hard time, and then when they kind of started easing up a little bit, Florida started getting their wits about them. So I don't know if it was a case of.
That was also prior to Mays getting really dinged up.
And maybe so, but Mays was still in though at times.
Yeah,
when that was happening,
he could
also
barely walk.
But I mean, if that's the case, so I mean, what's the stick right here? Do you continue going at that fast speed with someone else, or do you slow it down and keep him in hobbling around? I don't know. Based on the speed and how you had Florida thrown off, I think what's the answer right there, dude? If that's the case, I would have pulled him and put somebody else in so you could go full speed. I think that full speed was causing a lot more trouble than kind of slowing it down a little bit was.
Well, it's like you said earlier. I mean, it's just a question that Josh Heupel has to make. It's like you said earlier, what's better, a banged up Cooper Mays or sliding Carvin into center and bringing in another guard?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And that's where Tennessee struggled. That's just a decision that Josh Heupel has to make.
One thing, why did a couple of questions. Of course, the punt was the punt return, but you got one challenge. Why do you challenge a blatant 2 yards across first down? It was irrelevant.
Well, I think they thought he dropped it, but did you see what Heupel said into the headset? He just dropped a big, "What the F are you guys doing up there?" when they told him to challenge it. After he saw the replay on the screen, he put him on blast on the headset for telling him to challenge it. But I think they thought he dropped it. I mean, he was clearly past the first down marker. So I think that's what it was.
And I thought the defensive line did some good things. Willie Martinez, my blast group, you know who it is. I don't need to say it. Willie Martinez got his work cut out for him because that's a veteran group.
But can you get more specific? Do you not think the safeties are the worst position group on the team? I know you got a problem with the corners. The safeties are awful. And maybe that's why you're seeing some of the young freshmen get a shot out there. They're getting some playing time, but they're getting beat up on too. They're getting picked on too.
Secondary's rough, man, and it's a veteran secondary. It's and I thought the line did some decent things tonight. And there were some times, I mean, obviously the coverage was good and the linebackers couldn't pick up Jones taking off, but 21 out of 27 for Jones for over 200.
A guy that's not accurate.
He's not that good of a passer.
No.
He's not that good of a passer. That secondary is, again, no, I'm not giving the defense a rest. I'm not giving the secondary a rest. I'll give the rest of them, but I want to see some of these young guys push these veterans out in the secondary.
And I think they're close. I really do, because they're getting some run, man. They're getting some run, but they're young, so that they'll have to grow up in a hurry. Lonnie Allball Williams drops $5 to drop another joke about Joe Milton. Says, I would tell you a joke, but it would go over your head.
That's actually pretty good.
Indy kid, you're putting gasoline.
Come on, man.
You're putting gas.
Man.
You're putting gasoline on a huge fire, gigantic fire. I feel like I think Hendon Hooker earned the job tonight. I think Hendon Hooker gives you more consistency.
Lonnie, did you come up with that yourself?
No, he read it on VolQuest. I'm sure they hate Joe Milton on VolQuest. Why can't we just play Harrison Bailey?
Pretty funny.
Let's make them all happy. Let's make everybody happy. UT Punkin for $5. Thank you for the super chat. Says, great show tonight, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you,
man. What a super chat.
I've been waiting for somebody to do this because 10 people hate our guts and hit the thumbs down. We got 500 watching, only 279 thumbs up. Can you guys throw us a bone? Throw me a bone, man. Throw me a bone. Just hit that thumbs up. I really don't get it. I don't know if people don't sign in to YouTube or they don't really like us. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to hit the thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. I didn't even finish his dang super chat. I'm so fired up. He said, we're heading in the right direction. Need some key plays, and we will be good. Go Vols. Thank you, UT Punkin. We appreciate that super chat, especially when you yell at people. Wes Smith for 5. Thank you, Wes. We don't have a Power 5 roster at the moment. Can't even think of a position group where we are competitive in. However, we could still cheese 6 wins.
I thought receiver we were pretty good, but man, they did some good things. Man, they had some drops tonight, though.
The drops,
some key drops.
I mean,
I'm glad you got that Fallout Zone. You know what I'm talking about. Throw me a bone. Sorry. Nobody else gets that joke. Yeah, the drops. Back to wide receivers. It's across the board, too. It's not like it's just one guy. It's everybody. Everybody's dropping the ball. And now they can't blame Joe Milton anymore because he's on the bench, but wide receivers are still dropping balls.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
$5 from Matthew Williams. Thank you for the super chat. Says the first half we played good enough to win. The second half we were outplayed and outworked. O-line and D-line couldn't get any push in the second.
I don't think the adjustments were there tonight. And maybe some of that had to do with lack of plays being made. But, you know, you got to figure Florida's going to make adjustments too. And I really think it just boiled down to Tennessee's their missed opportunities. You just cannot miss them against a team like Florida. And they had opportunities. That should have been a closer game.
Oh, absolutely.
And man, I was saying about, holy crap, man, if you're claiming moral victory tonight, go the hell on. That give me a break, man. Give me a break. You know, they played well at times. There was absolutely nothing about that was a moral victory tonight. Give me a break, man.
I mean, let's be realistic here. The three of us picked us to lose. I mean,
what was moral about tonight?
No, I mean, we can look at it and say, yeah, there are some positive things that happened, but it's basically what we expected.
The first half
probably worse than we said.
It was
10, 11 points.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The score was worse than all of us predicted.
Yeah, but
it's so bad. My wife walks in the second quarter and goes, "Oh my gosh, they're actually winning!" like that's how bad it is, guys. That's where we're at.
Oh my gosh.
William pulled for 2. Now what's the excuse? Memphis 20. Why are we talking about Memphis? Thanks for the super chat. Good Lord, have mercy. I'm trying to be careful. It's not a moral victory.
You've got a Boogie Bentley troll. There's an Indie Kid troll here trying to tell me it was a moral victory tonight. So
a Boogie. I've got about 78 Boogie Bentley trolls, Indie Kid. What are you talking about?
Wait, so you mentioned we're on the Talkin VAWLS, but I thought this was the Boogie Bentley podcast.
It depends on who you ask, I guess, man. Wasn't my words. I can't control what people say, brother. Welcome to the Boogie Bentley show.
Guys listen, man, I'm proud of the effort. That was not a moral victory tonight. You're grasping for straws if you're saying that's a moral victory. There were some positives, no doubt about it. And I'm not throwing we expected a loss, but if they would have been within 7-10, I could see the argument. Tennessee got beat by 24 points. If that's a moral victory, they might as well set their asses at the house the rest of the year.
Noah Craigo for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says, coming into this game 3-0, I feel would have changed the outcome. Going to the Swamp undefeated would bring confidence, and that's what we lack. I don't know. I don't even know that I agree with that. I mean, 38-14. I don't know that confidence changes anything. I think maybe this loss would be easier to take if Tennessee went in 3-0. William Poole for another $2. Thank you for the super chat. It says, remember our little conversation about 98? I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what anybody's talking about, but thank you for the super chat.
William Poole, we don't care about Memphis. Yeah, they probably are a better program in Tennessee right now, but we don't care. I mean, it keeps going to that point. It's just, I don't even know we've ever mentioned Memphis on this podcast, this channel.
Thank you. Thank you, Indy Kid. I appreciate you for cleaning that up. You got to clean up your mistakes too, brother.
I do.
Maybe
that was a 15-yarder right there.
Maybe in basketball.
You say it so much, you got me freaking saying it.
Yeah.
Lonnie Alval Williams with another joke says, send Milton to Afghanistan, dude. Could overthrow the Taliban. We're screwed. Yeah, Lonnie's just on VolQuest now. He's just reading the VolQuest message board now to us. But we appreciate the super chat, Lonnie. JJ Reviews wants to boot people. All right. Any final comments you guys want to make before we wrap this thing up? I feel like we're exactly where we thought we would be at this point, honestly. Heartbreaking loss.
I'm not just down on tonight. I mean, I think they did some good things tonight. I really do. You just can't afford to make mistakes against a team like Florida and be in the game. And we said that from the get-go. I think all of us said that they got to play. They won the turnover battle, but I think we all said it can't just be even or very close to it.
You need to make more happen on defense.
Yeah, I mean, just the penalties, the drop passes, the bad snaps, the missed long passes. When you're playing a team like Florida, you have to be perfect on that stuff to even have a chance. When you're Tennessee, maybe on down the road, but we'll see where they go the next 2 weeks. What did they learn from tonight? Where does this group go back to work? I definitely think I would go with Hooker at quarterback. I don't think I'd go with Milton at all. I think Hooker's done some good things. Hopefully Cooper Mays is healthy next week and beyond. I think that did make a difference. Missouri is very winnable next week. And tonight was by no means a moral victory. If you're claiming that, you're delusional. Some good things tonight, but overall it turned out 38-14. Tennessee needs to go to Missouri next week and get the win. That is a very, very winnable game. That, to me, will signal progress. If they don't win that, pitchforks are going to be out next week. Just telling you.
To me, if they go to Columbia and make the same mistakes that they've made against Pitt and against Florida and not be able to run like they did against Tennessee Tech, those are things that I'll come out of next week with more questions and be a little bit more skeptical and put a little bit more on the coaching staff. It's still one of those things that you've got to look at the situation and the hand that Josh Heupel and this staff was dealt. They're making do with what they have. It's hard. It's hard to make a judgment on this coaching staff based on this team and the lack of depth and talent that is taking the field.
Somebody mentioned Hooker has a concussion. I wonder about that too, based on how he was under the tent at the end. If he has a concussion, he's not playing next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe that's precautionary, but I think Hooker's the best option, and I hope he's okay and ready to go next week.
What's the concussion protocol? Because Jalen Hyatt had a concussion and he was back the next week, wasn't he?
It depends on how you pass the tests.
I think we're all in agreement that Hendon Hooker gives this team the best chance to win at this point.
He's more consistent.
He's more consistent. Yeah, he's more consistent. He makes the throws. He doesn't open up the offense as much, but what difference does it make? If Milton can't complete the deep ball, it's a waste of time. I think we're all in agreement there. Hendon Hooker. I think he proved it today. I really do. Carlos Manzanares for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Tough loss, but totally see some SEC wins down the road. Thoughts on special teams? Keep up the good work and go Vols. I want to see Bayless Jones break one, man. I feel like
teams had a rough day today.
I feel like they've been consistent and good up until today. And
yeah.
They had the brain fart on the punt return. I feel like Bayless Jones was underwhelming in the kick return game.
The punting, the kicking game was off. Punting.
I think
kicking.
Brooks is hurt. I think Brooks is still banged up.
Yeah,
he was not good today. No.
Mm-hmm. Well, then the penalty on the punt block team.
Power T for 5. Thank you for the super chat. We would smoke Memphis like a loose cigarette. Get out of here with that. I love when you guys insult each other and throw a tip our way. It's always fun. Evan Counts for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Y'all have no idea how hard it is being a Tennessee fan in Georgia. Yeah, I feel for you.
Yeah, I do.
I'll pray for you every day.
I do, actually.
John Hill for 10. Hey, man. Super chat says, John, thank you for the show, guys. Go Big Orange. Thank you, John. We appreciate that super chat.
It's hard to be a Tennessee fan in Tennessee sometimes.
That's true.
Come on.
That's true. I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. Tough loss. It's not a moral victory. First half, I'll give you that. First half was a moral victory. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. The Indy Kid will have the day after. He's going to sleep on it. Maybe calm down and not yell as much. He's got such a temper. And then we'll have content coming your way all next week. We'll be live Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Next week, noon kick, so we're not going to be going live before the game. But we'll do the post-game show as always. But I think that is going to wrap it up for this one. He's Dauber. He's the Indy Kid. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
The songs how